For whatever reason, I've been thinking a lot about me. For whatever reason, I've been thinking a lot about media theory lately and revisiting a bunch of the classics about technology's effect on sociology. One of the best books, and one that I think still holds up, is an early 80s work called The Disappearance of Childhood by Neil Postman. The thing about this book is that it does sound a little finger waggy, like, oh no, the proliferation of television and mass media is eroding the innocence and purity of children. And yes, that is his point, but not in a finger waggy way. Because in his book, which is again titled The Disappearance of Childhood, he calls the entire first half of it the invention of childhood. You ever look at medieval paintings of children, including baby Jesus? Ever notice how they don't look like infants? They look like tiny adults? Well, there's a reason for that. Postman's whole argument is that childhood, like gender and like race, is a construct. It's something we invented as we built societies. And some of this has to do with people as property. This child belongs to me. I created this tiny person and thus must protect it like a house or a horse. And as technologies like the printing press placed more power into the people, shifting it away from kings and priests, the people began to hold tighter to their property. They began to have more knowledge of their own uh, ability to manage their own lives. Then you get artists and writers after the printing press developing the lore of childhood, the innocence of kids, not to mention the Bible itself, as we started to interpret religious texts individually rather than going through the church. And then we started reading into it that children were a particular kind of protected group. Eventually, we get Puritanism and Victorian society, and we have children as we know them today. In the Middle Ages, kings were not kept from, or sorry, in the Middle Ages, kids were not kept from vulgar words, sexuality, violence, labor, etc. Why would they be? They didn't exist. But by the 18th century, we used fairy tales and simple kids' songs to dilute the horrors of everyday living so that kids could ease themselves slowly into the trauma of mere existence. I don't think Dario Argento is channeling Neil Postman in 1975's classic giallo Deep Red, but we do see in it the classic trope of mommy protecting Sonny Boy and vice versa. We watch a son trying to process a direct trauma of murder through childish drawings and adult sublimation. But all children, until they're old enough to be taught that they are so, in fact, don't understand that they are children. They're just people, and Carlo wants to protect his mom just as much as she wants to protect him, and he'll do it with orange paint, extreme acting, and impeccable art direction. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
What is your favorite era of art, of paintings, etc.?
Oh dear. Favorite era?
If you were to go to an exhibit that was just like
Oh, that's
blankism,
so hard. God, that's so hard. Because I find that whenever I do go, I even if it's something I'm like, I'm not so into this, but like when I get into a well-curated exhibit, I'm like, okay, maybe I am kind of into this.
mhm.
Well, going off of this week's movie, Art Nouveau is pretty dope because of
Art
that house.
Nouveau. Those
That
fucking windows on that
Oh my,
house
right?
screaming.
I stopped the movie and was like, I need to make sure because I was like, is this Beaux-Art? No, Beaux-Art's something else. Art Nouveau, that's what that is.
Hmm.
And then it took me back to like all those buildings in Prague that are like that.
Hmm.
I when I was traveling around Portugal, I had this beautiful book of architectural drawings done by this architectural and people drawings of like this tiny little seaside town in Portugal.
Hmm.
And I fell in love with a house. Not like that movie where people want to like marry intangible, like or inanimate
Right, right.
objects, Like I'm not trying to marry the Statue of Liberty or anything. But this house, it was like on the seaside Portugal town, and it was a men's boxing club. But it was like the most beautiful Art Nouveau style. Like I was floored.
Interesting.
I still have that book. I bought that book because I fell in love with this house or this building.
Yeah, Art Nouveau is incredible. And
It's so
it's
fantasy. It's fantasy. It's not gaudy, but it's decorative just for decoration's sake. Like, why would you want to make your door a stupid old rectangle when you could make it a circle that's been divided into three different sections and has like beautiful stained glass? I mean, come on.
You can also see how Art Deco came out of Art Nouveau. But
Yeah.
when you once you go down the path of Art Nouveau
Yeah.
and then you start looking at Deco and you're like, Deco's kind of lazy
I
because
no, I
I
like
know
Art
it's
Deco.
great. I know it is, but yeah.
Like my I think some of my earliest memories of like experiencing different kinds of architecture was going to visit New York City and
Yeah.
seeing Radio City Music Hall, the Empire State Building, like those classic Art Deco. We even get that in some of this movie,
Hmm.
kind of the Nighthawks sort of era
Yeah.
of art.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'll go with that. That's my answer. What about
I like
you?
that. I like that. Really anything postmodern I'm always into just because I like form as the content.
Oh
Like the
man.
idea that it's about the process becomes
Oh
really
yeah, they're like,
fascinating
here,
to me.
we put a pile of sand in the middle of this art gallery, but it's
Yes.
sand that's been collected by the hands of migrant laborers, and
Uh-huh. Yep.
the
And
story is the art. Yeah.
yes, and as you can tell, as somebody who goes into like doing an intro based on Neil Postman, that I like
Uh-huh.
process. I like to think
Yes.
about the
Yeah.
machinery that makes everything tick. But honestly, one of my favorite exhibits I ever saw, this was like 15 years ago, but somebody did a Hieronymus Bosch exhibit
Oh, fuck yes.
in New York City, and I was just beside myself. It was so
Yeah.
amazing. Him and Bruegel, I don't know how
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Peter
yeah. Yeah.
Bruegel, the Elder,
Mhm.
whatever. That kind of shit is so dope. I really love like these kind of folksy paintings that have that's like Where's Waldo? There's so much
Oh, yeah.
happening in every single
Yeah.
one of them, but they're sick and twisted and funny
Yeah,
and
sure.
weird.
Yeah.
Boy.
I mean, and especially at a time when you didn't have, I don't know, any kind of recorded entertainment. You're like, here, stare at this painting your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you want to get the most out of it so you can
Yeah.
sit there and every time you look at your wall because there's nothing else to do,
Yeah.
you get something new out of that?
It's so interesting watching this movie after having just watched a few of the old like Mario Bava
Oh,
uh,
sure.
uh, classics on Criterion, and particularly The Evil Eye or The Girl Who Knew Too Much. And those are funny and clever and stylized. Mario Bava very much is, but also like fit the form, the exact nature of like what a murder mystery is all about,
Sure.
right? Black Glove
Yeah, yeah,
Killer
yeah.
and all of this. And this movie does too, but it's so interesting that Dario Argento, some of his most notable films are Deep Red,
Yeah.
Suspiria,
Hmm.
and Phenomenon or
Sure.
Phenomena. Is it
Yeah.
Phenomenon? Phenomena.
Phenomena. Yeah.
Phenomenon
Phenomenon.
is
That's
the
what the
John
Muppets, that's
it's
what
the
the Muppets
Muppets movie
sing.
or the John
Yeah.
Travolta film about the brain tumor or
Yes.
whatever,
Yeah,
psychic
he's
brain
like an
tumor,
alien, or I don't fucking know.
something.
An angel? No, it's a different one.
That's Michael.
Okay.
But yeah, he's so interested in a higher level of the natural world, of playing with psychic
Oh,
abilities,
sure. Yeah.
playing with witchcraft, playing with
Yeah.
witchery. So he adds a
Even a
supernatural.
psychology, like sort of
Mhm.
Jungian psychology. Like I was really, after I finished it, because I had never seen this movie. I think I
No.
had started it once many moons ago and was like, I am so not in the mood for this fucking 1970s bullshit. Like I
Uh-huh.
was just not in the mood. So I didn't make it past the like first couple of scenes. I was like, I'll save this for another day.
Yeah.
Then after watching it last night, by the end of this movie, I was literally yelling at my television set.
What were you yelling?
I mean, like, what the fuck?
Uh-huh.
Is she gonna burn this house down? Just like yelling back at the screen because I was like the last when all the sort of loose ends started getting tied up. I was like, oh, I'm in it now.
Yeah.
And I was really thinking about I was like, hey, Jeffrey, do you like a murder mystery?
Uh-huh.
But thinking how different this is from your sort of like Agatha Christie murder mystery, which is so bound up in like the physics and logic of the real world.
Hmm.
And it seems like Dario Argento has zero interest
Hmm.
in the physics and logic of the real world.
This
Like
is no,
he
he does
really
not.
does not give a fuck.
He does not. He is style. He loves,
Yeah.
and this movie is gorgeous. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful, and it makes sense that this is his kind of jumping off point for Argento's career.
Yeah.
And this is held up as one of the best. It's just going to be in your top five if you search best giallo films.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it's so interesting that giallo just in Italian just means yellow because it's
Yeah.
based off of the yellow paperback pulp novels.
Yep.
And I would say this doesn't resemble Agatha Christie so much as it resembles noir, which is French for black, which was comes out of film
Yes.
noir.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it feels more like not hard-boiled detective, but definitely femme fatale,
Oh, for sure.
Italian style.
Yes.
Totally Italian style.
Yeah.
And yeah, it feels gritty, but in a world that is pristine and sharp. And even the grittiest moments of this movie, you can see how carefully painted on the grime is in the bathroom or what
Oh,
have
for
you.
sure. Like all the interiors are all like perfectly decorated. All the clothing is like so like tailor. It's yeah, it's very much art direction style.
I have never wanted to go to a bar as much as I wanted to go to the
Oh,
Blue
for
Room
real.
in this
Yeah.
movie
Yeah.
because it is the perfect, like all stony Italian uh courtyard
Yeah.
with that seems completely empty except for one bar that is Edward Hopper's
Uh-huh.
Nighthawks, Night Owls, whatever,
Nighthawks. Yeah.
Nighthawks, with the huge picture window wrapping around the corner
Hmm.
and just like a handful of people sitting in profile along the bar, smoking and
Just
drinking.
smoking and drinking in silence.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Well, let's talk about Profondo Rosso, Deep Red. And we get kind of a get like a little teaser at the beginning here. We hear the
Yeah.
kids la 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 song.
Oh my
Just
God. Which sounds like a demented ice cream truck.
it really does.
Like what I wonder what your author would think of this sort of crazy insipid child music, which sounds invented for this film.
He actually has a whole subchapter on music and the way in
Okay.
which children's music slowly stops existing. And in the 20th century, we started with kids shows, started taking pop music and rock music, which were of the time for adults, and shifting them
Okay.
down to kids, and then like
Oh.
bleeding the two things together that pop music absorbs children's sounds
Oh, for
and
sure.
children's music absorbs rock and roll sounds
I mean,
in the
who
mid
hasn't
20th
jammed out to
century.
Baby Shark
Yes, and so yeah,
at
and so
least once?
the idea of turning a childhood song creepy is a
Yeah.
very like 20th century concept,
Oh, for sure.
um, based on the eradication of childhood and the bleeding together of adulthood and childhood. Anyways, we'll try and leave Neil Postman alone.
Okay, well,
I may
let
bring
him
it back.
rest.
I may bring it back to Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf or Andrew Lloyd Webber later,
Or
but I
Brecht.
don't know. Or Brecht. Oh, definitely.
Your top faves.
Hmm. My bingo card.
Yep.
But we see like kind of a 1950s house,
Hmm.
empty living room with a Christmas tree
Yep.
and shadow on the wall of stabbing in the back murder.
Fuck. This is how you start a movie, Jeffrey.
Fuck it is. Yeah, fuck yeah, it is.
This is how
Yeah.
you start a movie. We're like, we are not wasting any time. Shit is happening.
Bloody knife hits the floor and you see just kids' feet step into the frame. And it's
Yeah.
the buckled shoes with
Oh my God.
the knee-high white socks.
Yep.
So there is a question of gender of the
Oh,
child who
yes, there
sees it.
is. Oh, yes, there is.
Because I wrote down girl's feet
Yeah.
step to the knife.
Yes, definitely.
Well, then rest of the credits, and then we see a jazz band just performing, rehearsing in a.
In a church? In like the crypt of a church?
I wrote down like an abandoned factory. I wasn't sure what was happening
No,
in
there's
this
like a
space.
fucking altar there. Like,
Okay,
like,
great.
but it's also Italy, so like they have more churches than they know what to do with. So they're like, yeah, I guess just record in this church, I suppose.
And this is Marcus who's leading this band. Marcus is our protagonist. He is a like a lot of these giallo films, they kind of will center around like an American or a Brit, and he is a
Yes.
Brit.
Somebody from outside has come to Italy and has been thrown into some sort of murder thing.
Yes. And it's so funny because for a lot of people, the Amanda Knox case was a moment where we were like, oh, the Italian police are fucked up.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
this is a movie that doesn't really deal in that, but a couple of the giallos that I did watch do deal with like how
Oh,
corrupt the police are,
oh yeah.
especially in Italy, and especially if you have a foreigner. Because if you can
Oh,
just
yeah,
lock up
yeah.
a foreigner, case closed,
Case closed.
done
Yeah.
and done.
Interesting. Okay.
So, uh, so we just get set up that he's a jazz musician,
Yeah.
he's an artist, whatever. Now let's cut to this red velvet curtain stage.
Oh, stop my heart. Stop my heart.
Uh-huh.
And it's like the camera sort of drifts in through the lobby, and there's like old Italian men in suits, and then the curtains part to let the camera through into this all red theater. It is high style.
Yes. And up on stage we have these three people. The two we really need to know are Helga
Yep.
and
Fabulous.
Jord and what's our guy's name? Giordani.
Giordani. Yeah.
Yep. Professor Giordani and Helga. And Helga is a Giordani is a professor and deals with like telekinetic stuff
Yeah.
and
He's talking about how butterflies are psychic
uh-huh.
and zebras are psychic. And I was like, I don't know about all this, but okay, great. Love this lecture.
Citation needed.
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah.
Helga is German, as per the name. And
Ish.
you can tell by the name and the haircut that she is
Yeah.
German.
Yes.
But Helga has tremendous telepathic powers. Like she is
Yes.
there. She is the subject of this talk in this audience of very old Italian men. And, she talks about like the nuances of psychic powers. It's not that I can see the future, it's that I can feel the energies. I know strongly a vibe of something,
Yeah.
basically. I know when
I
something is pending.
I love that she sets up like her first thing. She's like, I don't do magic.
Yeah.
This isn't tarot cards. This isn't witchcraft, which is so important because I think that's like kind of the flip side of the Italian Catholic stuff is like they
Hmm.
love, those Catholics, they love their magic.
Hmm.
There's always like a little bit of magic underneath the Catholic cultures.
Uh-huh.
But she's like, no, 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 no. Like this is a like psychic ability. It's like it. She's trying to make it sound scientific, so it's not like she's going to be reading tea leaves and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, that it feels more scientific in
Yes,
its like that
she's like a
there's an
radio.
yeah.
She says like a really big antenna
Hmm.
and can receive a lot more wavelengths than the average person.
Yeah.
They also say that children have this psychic ability,
Yeah.
but by the time they develop their language skills, it sort of fades away.
Yeah. So, we even have like a demonstration of a man in the audience of like, oh, you in the third row, and I feel the name Pietro Valgoi.
Mhm.
Forgive my pronunciation. He's like, that's it, Uh, Pietro Valgoi, and
Your
and
hands in
and
your
you
pocket, you're touching some keys. One of them is longer than the other.
and he holds up his keys,
Oh
and so it
my
does feel like
God.
it cracks me up because she's like, I don't do magic. And I'm like, this is the structure of every magic trick.
Of course. Yes. I need a
But
volunteer from the audience. You, sir, in the third row.
uh-huh, we have
Person I've
never
never
met
seen
before,
before.
sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
But then she gets overwhelmed and starts being shouting like, "No, out, out, out!"
Yeah.
And she catches, brings herself back together and is like, "I'm so sorry. I'm sensing something strange. I feel something sharp like a knife. I feel death in here. I feel a presence."
Yes.
And Argento switches to a camera in the audience that kind of gets up and walks out.
hmm I think it's so funny
Uh-huh.
talking about the police. Let's talk about the policing in this.
Sure.
I mean, there's many things we could, again, back to this, like, if this were Agatha Christie, it would be a different story, but this is Argento. So, like, police procedural schmedural. Like, six people saw somebody, they're like, I sense a murderer in the building, and somebody gets up and walks out that,
Uh-huh.
like, six people saw.
Yeah.
And the police didn't question anybody in that audience.
No.
They didn't know.
No.
They just questioned the three people, the three psychics on the stage.
Uh-huh.
That's who you're gonna talk to? Okay,
Yeah.
sure. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
because as we know, Helga's going to show up dead later tonight.
Yeah.
And the idea that they didn't keep track of anyone who came to see her show that
No.
day.
No. No follow-ups? Okay, sure.
Oh my God. Okay, so
She says there's a song, there's a house.
uh-huh.
I've seen it. You have killed and you will kill again. Oh, I love it.
We see a quick shot of this like filthy bathroom and we hear the sound of somebody puking in one of the stalls.
Yeah.
Another man is leaving being like, "Hey buddy, you okay? You need
Hey, you all
anything?"
right? Yeah.
No, I'm good. And then we see the black zippered gloves go on the hands.
And I love it that like the mirror is like scratched out so you
Hmm.
can like just barely see the eyes.
Yeah.
So like it's a human face, but you really like how they sort of cover the killer's identity.
I love how this movie plays with who done it.
Sure.
I mean, I do think like a lot of who done. Hold on.
Are you being a bad kitty?
No, look. So
Oh,
say hi to YouTube, Robert.
oh, hey, bad kitty. He looks so
Jerkwad.
sweet and innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Is he just like chewing on your feet?
he he was chewing on my microphone cord.
Oh, they love that. You know what you have to do? You have to get some lemongrass spray,
Ah,
spray
good
down your
call.
microphone cords.
Good call. And then he was when I
I had a
reached
cat
down to
once that I had a cat once that literally would like eat my cell phone chargers until I started doing that. You can get it anywhere. It's really cheap.
when I reached down to get him, he was like fully wrapped a whole arm inside of it. And anyways, I got rid of the dirt bag. We're good to go.
Right.
But yeah, let's jump over to these interesting shots of toys and dolls with like
Yes.
pins. They're made out of yarn and
Like super high. It feels very commercial to me.
uh-huh.
Like this is what commercials used to look like, in that it's like super high resolution, very close up of very small things. Or maybe this is just because this is an era, like I was born a few years after 75, but this is an era of like commercials, like when I was being targeted as a child, of
Uh-huh.
like, this is what commercial television looked like.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, it's like braids of yarn.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Little tiny baby doll, sure. You've got sort of a yarn creature that has pins stuck in it.
Uh-huh.
Uh-oh. A devil. Oh no.
Uh-huh. That looks like it's made out of like plaster or
Like
hardened clay or
clay.
something
Yeah. And then some marbles.
and some
Pretty
marbles.
pretty
So like
normal.
the implications that the baby doll is like a purchased item, the little
Yeah.
plastic baby doll, but like all of these things are like made of other objects is the idea. Like
Mhm.
these are homemade. There's even some drawings of like
Yes.
kids
Oh
like
yeah.
drawings of stabbings and shit. Also, we cut to a close up of an eye putting on liner,
Oh
dark
yeah.
black eyeliner. And that eyeliner makes its way on several characters in this movie to
Oh
keep
yes, it
you always
does.
on the lookout. Okay, so that night Helga is at her home and on
Oh,
the
Helga,
phone.
girl, you in danger, girl. Helga. She's like talking to her friend. She's like, yeah, I had a really hard day, but no, I'm fine. I just saw a murderer and I think I'm gonna get murdered. But you know what? I'm good. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm
Oh,
just gonna
the
write
doorbell's
all,
ringing. I should get that.
yes, I'm gonna write all my notes about, and she even said, she's like, I know who the killer is. Do you want to
Would
share that
you,
information?
yeah, would you like to give the police something to go on?
Maybe? Maybe a preemptive strike? No? Okay, you're just going to write it, scribble it in your notes for the day? Just like, Dear Diary, I
I know who
psychically
the
met him.
killer is.
I, s-
The
the
end.
killer, it was.
Oh, we're gonna get to that. I loved that so much. Fuck, it was so good.
Okay,
Okay.
also
Yeah.
Helga's apartment.
Hmm.
What the fuck? This is where you're like, what was the style of the 70s of these crazy decorated apartments? She has like a 6 foot tall seashell
Yes.
in her foyer.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a choice.
There's like a matching coral, all
Yeah,
white
yeah.
thing happening too there.
Okay, that's a
Yeah.
choice, but you know what? Hey, disco, super modern, very
Yeah.
cool, très cool, c'est chouette, right? Okay. Then we get to her hallway art,
Yes.
which I did not realize was going to be kind of a plot point, but
Hmm.
it's just confounding.
Yeah.
It is the creepiest fucking faces,
Yeah.
like white-eyed ghouls and ghosts.
With like distended maws. It's
Yeah.
just, it's so, it's unnerving. It reminds me of, is it Goya that had that period of drawing these like really like just like what's the god eating the baby?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
Fuck, I should know that. Anyways,
Titan. Yeah, Titan
yeah,
eating his children or whatever. Yeah.
yes. And
Yeah, like the
it
white
has a little bit
eyes.
of that vibe to it, but more modern, like more
Yeah.
hand drawn. Like
Like I
I have
was
to
just
be
looking
honest,
through.
like it felt a little bit like the type of stuff that like a pretty good artist who's into heavy metal like sketches in
Yes.
college.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's cool. I'm gonna tell you that it is
It
cool.
is
It's
cool. It's
a
just,
choice.
but she has like 20 of them.
Uh-huh.
And it's the first thing besides the giant seashell. But I was like, these are not, and also I was like, aren't you just visiting this? Like, is this a rented apartment? Did the art come with you? Or did the art come with the apartment? Because if
Right.
it came with you, I understand because you're some psychic, maybe you do some sort of auto drawing, painting, something. But if it came with the apartment, I need to speak to your landlord.
I think this is like 70s version of Airbnb where like this is
Oh my God.
probably what was bought at Home Goods to fit it.
No,
Like in the 21st century,
no.
we have live, laugh, love, and it's wine
Hmm.
o'clock. But
Yeah.
back then it was just scary fucking faces all over the Home
Scary
Goods.
ghost faces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because whoever designed this apartment, I just want to teach them the phrase leitmotif. Just
That's it.
we just need something that will tie all of the different themes
A little bit.
together into kind of a single undercurrent.
Hmm.
There's no flow, I think,
No,
artistically, from
no.
what I'm saying.
Matter of fact, the flow is a flow away. You enter the house and you're like, oh, cool seashell. Oh my God. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm getting out of here.
Our friend Jen Levitt used to be a docent at the Hollyhock House in Los
Ooh,
Angeles.
love the Hollyhock house.
Hollyhock is great, and I remember she took me on a tour many years ago of it, and it's a Frank Lloyd Wright
Hmm.
home built in, the hills. And it is this beautiful house, very Frank Lloyd Wright. But one of the things that really stuck out to me was this vaulted living room ceiling, just enormous, so much air above you, so much light pouring into it. It's so welcoming, and the foyer has got like a low, like a 7 foot ceiling that is
Yeah.
made of like concrete, and it is dark with just a single kind of harsh overhead light embedded, and
It's like,
it is his was done intentionally
yeah.
because his idea was about flow through the house that you
Yeah.
wanted to
Like
get
this is where
people
you take your coat and then get the fuck
get
out
the
of this
fuck out
area.
of the foyer is what he's
Yeah.
telling you with the design of that space. And this hallway with these paintings in this movie, I'm like, get the fuck out of the hallway.
Get the fuck out of that hallway.
Well, the doorbell rings, she goes to
Ding
the
dong.
door, she starts to touch the knob and is like, oh my God,
Oh, it's
I
the
sense
killer.
horror. The doorbell
Her door
ringing at
is not
11:15 should already have, I would have figured
right.
that out, and I'm not
Right.
psychic.
I also think, silly me, lock your door. No one locks their doors in Italy, apparently.
No, no,
Like
no.
that killer, okay, that one of the best kills. I mean, this is like a classic Argento one.
Hmm.
It like the killer bursts through, cleaver, meat cleaver. Of course, we don't see the killer's face,
No.
but like meat cleaver, pow, 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 pow. And she's got on this like beautiful kind of like silk pattern shirt. It's just, oh, it's so crazy. Killer like kind of makes her way into the room, pushes her through a window, which is like this Argento trademark, or will be the
Uh-huh.
Argento trademark we get in Suspiria. We get it in Tenebrae
Uh-huh.
of like people being pushed through the window. The killer just kind of leaves her there.
Yep. Leaves her just neck down in the
Yeah.
window.
While still playing the creepy children ice cream song.
That's part of this killer has a leitmotif, which is this
Yes.
creepy children's song on a cassette that he plays every time he goes to, or he, she,
He's got to
they
get
go to
bricked
kill
up. He's got to
someone.
get
Yeah.
bricked up before he goes to kill. He's
Yeah.
got to be like, la, 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 la. Oh, yeah, let's do it. Let's fuck
It's
some
so
shit
good
up.
because the cassette also has a warp to its
I
sound.
know. I know. I love
Even
it.
better. Okay. Marcus is walking past the blue bar
Hmm.
out in the courtyard.
Amazing.
Just, I had to pause it. I just loved that image so much.
It's crazy.
So beautiful.
It's okay. Brutalism. Like
Yeah.
it shows you the brutalism that is Italian architecture after World War II.
Uh-huh.
I did look this up. This is, even though it's supposed to take place in Rome, all of this is an actual plaza in Turin.
Oh.
And that statue, that giant neoclassic statue, is the statue of the River Po, which is like one of the main rivers in Italy. So it is a place you can go. I think the bar was an added set piece.
It looks like an added set piece.
Yeah, like it looks like they sort of tacked, but I mean, thank you. Wow, chef's kiss.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for that. But it's like this brutalist neoclassic mishmash of a space is,
Yeah.
which is something that you do get, like you get that in, I think that's in Suspiria as well. The idea of like, you remember the sort of the blind piano player who gets fired from the school, and then
Mhm.
he's like walking through this giant courtyard, and you're like, how's he going to get murdered out there? There's nobody around him, which I love this idea of like huge spaces
Yeah.
in which you feel so very small and so very exposed.
Yeah. I love that too, because that is so perfect for Cecil Baldwin, because Cecil Baldwin notably is giant empty space. Horrifying.
They're horrifying and yet somehow very attractive.
Yeah, yeah. It's my favorite type of horror, something that you're so scared of, but you're like, I have to
But you
see
like
it.
can't, yeah, like it's like edge fear. Like I get so scared, but I can't not look. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
"Ah,
Because it's fun.
let
It
me do it
feels so.
again. I want to do it again." Yeah,
Love the Call of the Void. It's so
yeah.
good. Well, he meets up with Carlo, his
Oh,
buddy.
Carlo.
He's a fellow musician,
Yeah,
but he's an alcoholic. He's
yeah.
always drunk.
He's sort of like, ha ha ha, I'm trying to drink myself to death. Ha
Yeah.
ha 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 ha.
Which is super not funny, Carlo.
Yeah.
That's should be a concerning sign. Not a line of humor you want to
Hmm.
really roll with. But
Yeah.
Marcus is concerned with him and
Yeah.
tells him so. Like, whatever you do with your life, I just want you to know that I think you are dying from the
Yeah.
alcohol, the amount that you do. And I just want, he's not like doing an intervention. He's just
No.
voicing the concern.
He's just like, I've known people in America and London that drink like you and they don't live very long.
Don't live very long.
He's like, yeah, that's the point.
Well, we then hear a scream,
Oh. Oh.
and Carlo, oh, well, the important thing is Marcus looks up and sees the woman in the window
Oh my
screaming.
God.
And then we see someone from behind crash her through and plant her
Yes.
neck firmly on the glass shards and run off. But he goes up into her apartment, calls the police. The
Not before
cops.
he takes the body out of the, I was like, dude, you are getting your hands all up into this murder investigation.
Well, later we've got the old woman in the that finds the body of Amanda, who's like cleaning up all the
I
blood
know, I
before the
love it.
police even
Well, I think the
arrive.
police had already come.
Oh, they had already
The
come.
police
Okay.
had already come in that case,
Okay.
but same vibes.
Yeah.
I was like, Marcus, you need to. I don't know if you need to be doing all this right
No.
now. You should be on the telephone, and that's all you should be doing.
Well, this cop starts with, "Oh, so you're a foreigner, huh? You're not from around here."
Yeah, Uh-huh.
What is it you're doing in Italy? I'm a musician. Oh, so you don't really have a job.
Oh, you don't have a job? He's like, well, I'm a teacher. I teach piano. I love it. Look, this cop is like stuffing some fabulous overacting here. The cop is like stuffing a sandwich into his mouth this entire scene.
Oh my God, it's so literally chewing the scenery.
Literally chewing the scenery. He is so concerned with this sandwich. He like shoves the entire thing in. He's like, "Yeah, I had a cousin who played the yeah, the violin. Is that
How
like you,
fun.
right?" Hey,
Hey, well then,
it's Italian American. This is more a
well
little different.
then, who comes through the door but the
Uh,
hard-nosed reporter, his girl Friday,
oh my God.
Gianna.
Gianna, played by the immaculate Daria Nicolodi.
I
Daria Nicolodi is one of those actors that, like, I know she was married to Dario Argento for a while. They had a daughter, Asia Argento. Daria Nicolodi is one of those actors that, like, I feel like had she been born in a different time or place, like she was just born in a different time or place. Like
uh-huh.
she is like, and I think maybe she should have been like born in the 1940s,
Hmm.
or she should have been like that kind of
Well, she might have been
funny, like, or I mean, like,
because
no,
it's
she should have been like
an adult in the
at this
yes,
age in the
yeah,
1940s because she has that like tough, funny, sensitive within the scan of like 3 lines.
yes. Well, she is playing femme fatale,
Yeah.
combined with a touch of the fast talking.
Yep. She's the fast talking Dane. Yeah.
She's the fast talking dame. She's his girl Friday, but she's also femme fatale, right? She's
Yeah.
both, and she's incredible in this. And she's the reporter of she's Jennifer Jason Lee from Hudsucker Proxy.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
and they're like,
But
"Who
she just
told you?"
happens to show up at the murder scene.
Oh,
How'd you know about
interesting.
this murder? I have my sources. Click, 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 click. She's taking camera. Oh, look who's that guy. You saw the murder. Click, click, click. Taking your picture as well.
Uh-huh.
Bye-bye.
They go to the burial, and oh, one of the things is that Marcus tells Carlo a little bit later. He was like, we had seen one of the paintings
Yes.
from her window, or I don't know. He
Well, it's like
somehow
when he walked in, he got this impression,
that's oh
and he
yes.
walked in, found the body, and then called the police,
Uh-huh.
and the police came. And then he has this feeling, this impression that the police removed a painting, or the
Yeah.
killer maybe removed a painting, or there's something missing from the apartment. And I was thinking, what's missing from the apartment? The notes with the killer's fucking name on it. That's what's missing from this goddamn
Yes.
apartment.
Yes.
Because you actually see that. But
And a
he feels like
leitmotif
it,
also missing.
and a leitmotif. But he feels like there's something missing and he can't quite put his finger on it. So he asks his tragically drunk friend Carlo, I feel like there's something. Okay, so you saw the killer in the courtyard. I saw, we, the audience, and I, the character, saw you in the same frame
Uh-huh.
as the stylish lacquered black glove killer.
Yeah.
And Carl's like, I don't fucking, I see a lot of things. Who could say?
Oh my God. Well, Gianna is also at the funeral and Marcus is there too. And Marcus is obviously very interested in figuring out what happened.
Yeah.
Gianna is too,
Yep.
but she starts flirting very heavily with Marcus right
Oh, I
away.
love it.
But there's also a constant recurring question of like, wait, why are you staying in Italy? I feel like this
Yeah.
is a bad idea for you.
Get the
Like,
fuck out.
I love seeing you. You're delightful. Let's have dinner. Let's do it. All this sort of stuff. But also,
Get out,
shouldn't you go
girl.
back to England? Where are you from? England,
Yeah.
America? What's your deal?
Yeah. Like what's going on? I mean, it doesn't help that they put his picture on page 1 of the newspaper.
Right.
Man who witnessed murderer.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, ha ha ha, Gianna, what the fuck you doing? She's like, I don't know, it's my job. Just it's just what I do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
My
I don't
calling.
it's just, I just like to endanger people's lives for no
Hmm.
reason at all.
Well, the recurring joke is her fucking Fiat that she drives.
This car. Have you ever had a car like this, Jeffrey? Oh, like a car that was so busted that it had rules?
Uh, so my first car was a 1985 baby blue Ford Escort with a smashed in
Oh,
fender. We
oh,
called it the roller coaster car because it had a what turned out later to be a busted U joint or a cracked U joint. So it still drove and steered, but the U
okay,
joint has to do with the steering. So
okay,
anytime I turned like more than just like a full turn, like a left
okay.
turn,
Sure, sure, sure. Like a full complete turn.
as
Yeah.
I was driving and in the turn, the car would just go clack, 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 clack,
Oh,
clack, 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 clack. So it
oh,
sounded
but
like you were
okay.
going up the roller coaster's first hill.
Oh, I love that.
Also, it was a coupe, but with a rear seat, the two
Uh-huh.
door, and the passenger side door. The lock either worked or didn't. And if
Hmm.
it was in the locked position, sometimes you just couldn't get it out of that. And if it was on the unlocked position, you couldn't get it back to locked.
Oh
And the
no.
seat on that side um, was hard to like once you pulled it forward to let people in, pulling
Uh-huh.
the seat back, it just wouldn't lock into place.
Oh
So sometimes the
no.
person would sit in that seat and it would just be kind of like
Be like
jostling
pressing
them
them.
because
Oh,
it's not
oh my
locked.
God.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I had a car that the speedometer would just stop working.
Hmm.
So I learned how to drive knowing how fast I was going by the
Uh-huh.
tachometer. But I felt like the fucking Fonz. Like if you hit it in exactly the right place on the dashboard, it just took one solid like whack and it would kind of snap to attention. So I'd be
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm going 65. And then it would be engaged for a bit and then would kind of die.
Was this the car where you could see the road below you?
That was my next car.
Okay.
That the underside of the driver's side was so worn through you could actively see the pavement beneath you. Yes, that was the Flintstones car.
Horrifying. Horrifying. Well, her tiny little two-seat Fiat, one, you can't lock the door. One, the driver's side door does
Driver's
not
side door
open or
doesn't even open.
doesn't even open. The passenger side door, you cannot ever lock it because
Yep.
you can't then get it unlocked. So
Hmm.
he accidentally locks the door. And so the rest of the movie, they have to climb out of the
The
sunroof,
moon roof.
the
Yeah.
moonroof. The other thing is the seat is busted. So he is always like a foot lower
I
than her.
love it. I love it.
It's so good. Okay. So talking about their relationship, they go back to his place and they're talking about the murder, but he gets into his like sexist rant thing about like women are delicate, fragile things. She's like, well, that's interesting. She's
Yeah.
like,
Huh.
let's arm wrestle for it. And she manages to beat him in arm wrestling.
Hmm.
Oh, you cheated. Your elbow came up. La, la,
She's
la,
like,
la.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. Now who's a big old baby now?
He's like, you just can't work with liberated women. She's like, let's do dinner. How's 7? It's so funny.
It's great.
And then she's like, maybe I'll call you. Ciao.
Yeah. Bye. She is like she fills every moment. This is just like like Daria Nicolodi fills every moment with something charming.
Hmm.
Like it's just the way she pulls out the cigarette from her coat. She does a little like weird little finger wag with the cigarette. It has nothing to do, just pure character.
It's like a
Like she just
chocolate Virginia Slim. Like it's
it's
super
like a
skinny long.
clove.
Yeah, it's
It's
a
like a
clove.
cigarillo or
Yeah.
something. But it's just she fills every moment with something fucking delightful.
Uh-huh. Marcus goes to visit Carlo
Where
and
yeah, Carlos's house.
Carlo's house, and but who he finds there is Carlo's mother,
Oh, she's
Martha.
lovely.
Martha. Martha. And she is so flirty with Marcus
Yeah.
and also is like just kind of not there entirely. Like, how
Yeah.
long have you been an engineer? I'm no,
She's
I'm
like,
I'm a
well, I'm a
pianist.
piano player.
Oh, an
Oh,
engineer who plays the piano?
I'm not an engineer lady. She's quirky. She's eccentric. You know what they say, rich people are eccentric.
Yes.
And she says, I used to be an actress. And she kind of points to her wall. And
Hmm.
it's all these like gorgeous old photos of somebody, maybe her, probably. She's like, but then my husband made me give it up. And now
Mm.
I'm just too old.
Yeah.
Shall I put on some coffee? Here's a Coca-Cola.
Well, she says, honestly, Carlo's not here. He went to go see his pal Massimo Ricci.
Hmm.
And so Marcus goes to visit Massimo Ricci's place, finds the door that has Ricci
Yep.
beautifully etched into the wall panel outside, so you know it's him.
At the
And
right
this
place.
beautiful man in a kimono and eyeliner
Eyeliner.
answers the door.
Uh-oh, we have hit queerness.
Uh-huh.
All right. Now, apparently this was actually this was played by a woman.
Okay.
And they sort of did like a little light dusting of a mustache on this
It
woman.
is a very light dusting of a
Very
mustache
light
goatee
dusting
sort of thing.
mustache.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, homosexuals, gay homosexuals. And it's really funny watching Marcus, like, he literally goes, oh, I'm sorry, and kind of turns away and he's like, wait, I'm in the right place.
Hmm.
Excuse me, do you know Carlo? And it's just like, yeah, Carlo's in the back. He's having a hard time, though.
He's fucking wasted.
He's wasted. He's been wasted all day.
Yeah.
He's been talking some crazy shit. Carlo's in bed. And he's like, well, you figured me out. I'm a gay homosexual alcoholic.
Yeah. And I do like Marcus and his kind of like practical enlightenment when he
Yeah,
says, I don't give a shit if you're gay. It's the drinking that's going to kill
I
you,
know, right? I
which
feel
is the
like that,
most
like,
ally thing you can say, I think.
it's the 70s. It's
Yeah.
like we have this like LGBTQ kind of liberation, Stonewall liberation. We have like the feminist liberation. Like everybody, it's in the air, man. We're
Yeah.
trying to talk about some shit. And we're like, listen, you're a fucking piano player in a bar. I'd be surprised if you weren't gay, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're still kind of drinking yourself to death.
But Carlo offers his own warning to Marcus, which
Yeah.
is to say, like, you really should leave because
Yeah.
I do think by you pursuing this mystery,
Yeah.
I think you're fucking with a madman and you could get
Yeah.
murdered yourself. Great point. Carlo makes an incredible point.
He does, doesn't he?
Mm. So later that night, Marcus is composing his music.
Oh my God. This jazz.
God, this is
What kind of music do you write? Jazz. I'm doing spirit thing. I'm doing like jazz
uh-huh.
hands. I'm doing Bob Fosse jazz hands for Jeffrey
Uh-huh.
right now. Just so you know.
And oh God, this is the music. This is Pete
Oh, fuck
Goblin.
yes.
Okay, so somebody is trying to get in to
Yes.
his
They're on
home
the
and
floor above, just
yep.
stomping around without a care in the world.
Yeah, like drywall or plaster is like
Right.
snowing down onto his piano.
Marcus, he's in the music. His
Uh-huh.
head is in the music, man. Doesn't even notice until that creepy la 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 la. Huh? I hear some creepy children's music. Perhaps my life is in danger.
It's the most kind of giallo moment in like in a nutshell is when he starts getting a little bit worried for his life,
Hmm.
he reaches for the first thing that could be a weapon and it is this bird statuette with a long beak and I'm like the most
What?
giallo weapon.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You're going to bludgeon your killer with a piece of bronze art.
And to be honest, that shit would
It probably
work.
would.
Yeah.
That's one out of all that, like out of all the things it's one of the better emergency weapons we've seen in this film.
Yeah.
But you know what you should do? Lock your goddamn door.
Lock your front fucking door.
Dude. What? Huh?
Well, he manages to get at least his office door locked
Yes.
just in time, and then he hears the killer whisper through the door, "Is like,
Marcus,
Marcus, I'll kill you sooner
I'll
or
get you
later."
eventually. But not while he's on the phone with Gianna. Because
Yeah,
listen, Gianna's suspect number one, clearly.
yeah.
But this, how could she do this? How could it be? She's talking on
It's
the phone. She's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And he's like, "The killer's in my house." She's like, "Oh no, get out of the house." He's like, "I can't. The killer's locked me in the house."
everybody kind of has an ally.
Yeah,
Sorry, everybody kind
an
of has an
alibi.
alibi because Carlo was with him when we saw the
He
first
saw Carl.
murder,
Yeah, he saw Carlo see the killer. What's
and
going on,
Gianna was on the
Jeffrey?
phone here. What even to do? Okay, so Marcus finally goes to talk to Giordani.
Oh,
Gianna
Giordani. I feel like
introduces
this is the
him.
role that I would play in this movie. This is the
Uh-huh.
role that I would want to play. Would be like kooky, intellectual, psychic professor.
Yeah.
I feel like I would do this role very well.
Yeah.
But I feel like I want to take a crack at this role because this, which leads us down the primrose path of the next hour of this movie, makes no fucking sense, Jeffrey.
It doesn't. I get lost in the plot a little bit. I feel like he was pulling his punches on the supernatural in this film.
Yeah. Like I wanted the psychics to be more psychic,
I wanted the haunted house to be more haunted.
to be more haunted.
I
Yeah.
wanted more lore, and I think ultimately he manages to just be woo rather than
Yeah. It's
supernatural.
vibes.
It's
It's not
vibes,
like
man.
anything more
Which
tangible.
which I think even the most staunch like scientific purist would sort of relent and say, "Yeah, I get vibes." Like
Yeah.
sometimes you have a
Sometimes you just get
dream
a
and it
creepy
comes
vibe. Yeah.
true. Sometimes you just feel the tension. There's probably something to that that we can't scientifically prove. That's kind of as far as this movie goes. But we're talking about he tells him about haunted houses.
Well, so this is the monologue. Is like Giordani is like, oh, y'all are talking about this killer, right? You know what? I remember I read a book once about a house that had a girl in it who screamed a lot. I think that's the house that the killer grew up in. I don't know why, don't know how. I don't have a copy of the book, but if you go to the Library of Folklore, which I'm like, there's a fucking Library of Folklore.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely, I am trying to be a curator at the Library of Folklore. Yeah, go to the Library of Folklore. Check it out.
Yeah.
And that is the clue that takes us on the next hour of this movie. Because you read a book once about a haunted house that isn't haunted with a girl that screams and huh?
And this is like the Exorcist 3, right? When he hears a phrase and he goes to a giant library with
Yes.
tens of
And
thousands of
just like
books,
picks up a
picks
book.
one and is like,
Well,
there's the
Giordani
sentence.
at least gives him a title, to
Okay,
be
good.
fair.
Yes, yes.
Giordani's like, the history of dark folklore in Italian rural something
Yes.
so generic. And he's
Um,
like, flop, 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 flop. Oh, this house looks scary and gorgeous. Once there was a girl who lived in a house and she heard screaming. The end.
you know what I think we had in 1975 were photocopiers,
They did. They really
and
did.
you could
Did
just
they?
ask the
Actually, they
Hmm?
did. Was that an 80s invention? No, surely they had photocopiers in the 70s.
Let's see here. Photocopiers were invented in well, the technology to do photocopying was invented in
Okay.
1938.
Okay.
So I would imagine we probably,
Sure.
oh yeah, in the 1970s we
Yeah.
were introducing color
Yeah,
photocopiers.
like Xerox, all that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like for sure.
So please don't ever tear anything out of a library
I
book,
know,
y'all.
right? That's
Just ask the
bad. But
librarian.
but you know what? They're Italian. They don't like, come on. You see how this movie's made. They're not concerned with rules and regs.
Uh-huh.
There's a murder to solve.
Okay, so now we're gonna jump out to this farmhouse, this villa out in the middle of,
The most
Mo-
gorgeous
yeah,
Art
somewhere in
Nouveau.
Tuscany or wherever the fuck we are, and there is
I think it's still in Rome. I think it's
it's still in
still
Rush, just kind of on the outskirts.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we meet Amanda and Elvira, the
Yeah.
older lady. Who the fuck are these people?
Okay, so Amanda wrote the book.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So he's like, okay. No, we're talking about two different things. Sorry. Yes, there's a house on the outskirts, like way out in the outskirts, like
Yeah.
kind of farmland. And he's like, oh yeah. He tells Gianna, He's like, I'm gonna go see this woman who wrote this book.
Yes.
Uh-oh, sharing your plans with somebody.
Uh-huh.
Sure enough, there's Amanda saying goodbye to her, old lady friend, putting her on a bus. I mean, this scene is like amazing.
Yes.
And Amanda goes back in her house, and there's a baby doll hanging from a noose in her living room. And at least she knows she is in danger
Yes.
and acts somewhat appropriately. I think for a giallo, she does the best
Yes.
out
And
of
and we do set
pretty
up
much
that
most
she
of them.
is in the middle, like there's no other house
There's
in
no,
sight.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
just this one long road, and she runs out to
The
see if
bus is already
Elvira's or the
gone.
bus is there, and the bus is already gone
You're
over the
all by
hill.
yourself. Again, her door is not locked.
No.
She
But
spends
she's
no
trying
time.
to lock the doors now.
She's trying. She is. She has two mina birds. She has two like talking birds, which will
Uh-huh.
be a thing here in a minute.
Yep.
Lights go out. The other lights go out.
All the doors are locked now from the she can't like actually get out of the
Somehow,
house.
I love it. Like the people that live in these houses cannot lock their doors against the killer, but the killer can lock them in.
Uh-huh.
We need to talk about your architecture, Italy.
Uh-huh.
We need to talk about how your shit works.
She arms herself with a knitting needle.
Perfect.
She ends up stabbing a bird out of the air.
Oh my God, girl, you just that this is the beginning of where I started talking back to this movie. Because admittedly, she's crouched on the ground. She's hiding in the middle of her living room. Great. Yes, put your back to the wall. She's got her knitting needle. She's very scared. She stabs her own bird
Mm-hmm.
and shows no remorse for it, which is kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
I was like, girl, that was a bird.
That's a fucking
That's
crow. Those
that's
are
a
very
no, it's like a little mina bird. Those are
mm.
your birds. That's not a killer. Doesn't matter.
Also, we get the grooviest fucking music to this
Oh my
murder
God.
scene.
I went to bed just like ow, 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 ow. Like it's pure bass line,
Yeah.
the music of
What's a
Goblin.
buzz? Tell me what's a
Yeah,
happening. What's
yes,
there's my Andrew Lloyd Webber
absolutely
reference.
that.
We did it.
Yes, absolutely that.
So she tries to escape out. Well, the killer like knocks her in the back and she's
Yeah.
crawling away to get out the bathroom window, and he just smashes her face into, or the killer smashes her face into the wall.
Wall.
Couple of deaths with smashing face hard into things, which is pretty gruesome.
The next one is the big one, but like he
Yes.
smashes her face, and then he's like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna turn on the faucet so it's the bathtub so it's really, really hot. And I'm gonna drown her. Now, this is actually kind of interesting. I
Uh-huh.
read a little factoid on about this movie that Dario Argento and I think the writer were kind of talking about like how the people should die, how
Uh-huh.
what the deaths should be, and I think this is a really fascinating look into the mind of the creators. They were like, not everybody knows what it's like to be shot. Most people don't know what it's like to be shot, but they wanted deaths that people could relate to. So everybody knows what it's like to be scalded by hot water, or
Oh.
everyone knows what it's like to kind of bang your shin or your toe or something against the corner of a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
So these deaths kind of have this like,
Or to cut yourself with a knife or on
or
glass. Yeah.
right? So everybody kind of can take that and in their imagination pump that up to a 10, as opposed to like, like I mean, granted, the first death is with the fucking cleaver is a bit much.
Yeah, yeah.
But that is like why the murders are the way they are in this, rather than like bang bang, you're dead.
Yeah.
Fascinating to me.
Also, a thing that many of you may not know, but if you own your house or at least in your rental, if you have access to the hot water heater,
Yes.
you can set the temperature of the
Uh-huh.
water.
This is Europe though.
At like 120 degrees Fahrenheit, probably more than you'll ever need.
Jeffrey,
Um,
do you remember like have you tried the hot water in Europe?
oh my
It
God.
is like this.
Yeah.
Having just been in England, there's a cold tap and there's a hot tap. The
Uh-huh.
cold tap is frigid, ice water, and the hot tap will literally boil your skin off.
It is
There's no in
30
between.
seconds from tea. Yeah.
There's no in between.
Yeah.
So I believe this movie.
Yes,
This
I
is,
totally do.
this
I'm
is
just
like
giving
the,
a PSA to
but
people. If
yes,
if the
no,
hot water is too hot for you,
you
check your hot
can,
water heater.
yes,
It should have a setting for the
maybe
temperature.
tone it down a little
And a
bit.
lot of times people will set that thing to like 160 and you do not need it that
No,
hot. You run the
yes,
risk of burning your ass off. 120 to 140, probably
perfect.
delightful.
Actually, I think that's what I have mine set at. Yeah.
Yeah. So, uh,
She's getting her face pushed in the water.
yeah.
She's
And
not doing well.
her killer leaves her to die on the floor. And her like face is completely like bubbled and swollen. It's
Oh
really
yeah.
grotesque. It's so gory, yucky. And then kind of her last gesture, she the in the steam on the wall, she starts
In
writing a
the
letter.
mirrored paneled wall. Oh my God, this is the most 70s.
It's so good. Yeah,
Mirrored
it's like,
tiles. Come on.
is it
Come
mirror or was it
on.
just like a really enameled like blue like navy?
I think it's like mirrored tile. This is
Okay.
like Boogie Nights bathroom
Whoa.
with like more fake coral or more real,
Yeah,
who knows, real coral, statue of coral, something.
yeah. Is it blue
But
and
yeah.
black or gold and white?
Oh my God.
Well, he Marcus shows up at her house to go meet this author and is like, another dead.
Another
Jesus
crime
fucking
scene I
Christ.
can walk into. He just walks into her goddamn house.
Yeah.
Didn't knock. Did he have an appointment? No, don't think so.
And of course, he
Start
can't
touching
tell the
things.
cops. Yeah, and he gets Gianna to come out to him. And she's like, they're gonna find you eventually because you touched every fucking
You
thing in that
touched
house.
everything. She's like, you've got two options. You can run away to Lebanon,
Uh-huh.
or you can turn yourself in, I think is the other option, or you
Yeah.
can go on a date with me. Wink.
How
This
about
is one of those scenes
and
where
she's
like,
got oh, can I just add she has a glove box filled with nips.
oh, booze.
Yeah, just airplane bottles of booze.
Absolutely. I fucking love that. I love her. I love her.
She's like, I've got anisette, I've got
Yeah.
Kahlua, I've got De Kuyper's peach schnapps,
Yeah.
like whatever. And he's like,
And he's like, do you have anything less sticky?
yeah. She
I got
with
whiskey and cognac.
yes, I love the condescension or the disdain. She
Ugh,
says whiskey and
men.
cognac.
Ugh,
Okay.
amazing. But this, they're having a light, bubbly conversation about he's like, I don't know. I'm kind of afraid to fly. Oh my God, maybe it's later, but she's like, and he's like, oh, I don't like flying. Can't we just drive to Spain? And she's like, what are you afraid of flying? You're going to land either way. Girl, I am gagged.
Yeah. There has
I
never been
guess
a
that's
plane that
true.
has not landed.
That's right.
No
It's going to
plane
be a
has ever
ride.
just drifted out into space
Nope.
and not come
Just,
back. It
just
will land.
last I heard, it's still going. It's rolling still.
So he's gonna stay.
He's going to
He's
stay,
got to
try
figure
and
this out.
solve this goddamn murder.
He's so this is when you talk about in the middle of this stuff making no sense. This is where like the murder mystery, the investigation falls apart a
Uh-huh.
little bit for me because a good investigator, Marcus in this case, obviously an amateur investigator because he's a jazz musician by
Sure.
trade, but he does the smart thing, which is if I got to place this plants in front of this house
Yes.
are different. I don't understand.
Yes.
They're kind of palm
A
looking.
unique kind of palm tree looking thing, right?
And so he starts talking. It does sort of make sense, but he starts talking to basically goes to nurseries
Yeah.
and asking them about the plants. And they're like, I think this plant like comes from the Canaries. Like I don't, this is not a
It's not a
native
usual
plant.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very rare. It doesn't do well in this climate.
Yeah.
We had some in a few years back, but they all died. People returned them.
Yeah. And that's the only information he has. And then later he just like drives around mansions until he finds
Just
one.
drives around.
And then he's like, there's one. Oh, and look, there's kind
Oh,
of a
that's
dead
it.
looking palm. Done and done. That's this one.
What the fuck?
It's not really any kind of like aha moment. It's just I
Miss
drove
Marple, he
around
is not.
till I found it.
Yeah. Hercule Poirot, he is not.
And I will say that I bet a lot of mysteries are solved not through a giant eureka moment,
through
but through
legwork.
just elbow
It's
grease of like,
yeah,
I'm going to go through this whole
every single
company
name on a
directory
list.
of
Yep.
2,000 people.
Yep. Cross-reference it to this other thing with 20,000. Yeah, that
And
I
it's
think
probably
that's
the most
correct.
boring fucking shit in the
Yeah,
whole wide world.
especially in the day before computers,
Yes, yes.
in which you're doing this shit longhand.
Yeah.
But yeah, this idea that he's just driving around the suburbs of Rome looking for a mansion that a psychic told him he read about in a book about a scary girl one time.
Uh-huh.
This is your lead?
Okay.
How about you go back to the scene of the crime? How about you go back to I don't know, all the people in that theater that saw somebody mysteriously get up in the middle of a lecture when the psychic said there's a murderer in the building?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe start with that.
And also, like, you know what is actually, and I can't speak to 1970s Italy,
Sure.
so I am putting my own American bias on this.
Okay. Okay.
However, in America, and I am feeling pretty confident that it would be like this in Italy, but maybe I'm wrong. It's pretty easy to look up home ownership records, deeds and
Sure.
titles and things like that. I mean, not
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
easy,
yeah, yeah,
but if
yeah.
you are skilled at it, you can find
That
at least
information
some information.
should be around somewhere.
All he had to do was just look up who lived in this house
I know, right?
prior, and he would have found his fucking friend Carlo's family in this goddamn
Yeah.
house. Or
I can see
if he
what
had
you're
ever
saying.
gone back to
Yes.
Carlo, because he had been telling him about the painting, but he never went to Carlo to be like, look at this fucking photo.
Yeah.
And Carlo would have been like,
Oh, gotta murder you.
huh? Anyways, finds the
He
house.
finds the most gorgeous house ever.
And also, Giordani, as simultaneously, he had talked to Giordani about Amanda's murder, and Giordani is like, I'll go check it out. So that's going to
Yes.
happen
Oh yeah.
simultaneously. But he finds the guy who is essentially the groundskeeper
Hmm.
for this house.
You gotta have a creepy groundskeeper. Come on.
Groundskeeper Willie and his daughter Olga,
Yikes.
who's like a red, ginger, pigtailed
Yep.
8-year-old.
Yep. Precocious. No, not precocious. That's not the right word. Creepy. That's the word.
There's a moment where the groundskeeper is like, all right, I gave Olga
Here's
the
the
keys.
keys.
She's going to
Yeah.
walk you over to the house,
Yeah.
let you in. And then as he's about to walk off with Olga, groundskeeper calls her back. It's like, I
Says, get
told
back
you,
here.
get back here. I told you not to do that again, and slaps her. And she kind of just looks at him defiantly
And smiles.
and smiles.
We're like, what the fuck? You just said go with Marcus. This is so confusing until
Uh-huh.
the camera pans down and there's a lizard that she has put a pin through. This is definitely a live lizard. This movie definitely injured an animal for the making of this film. So
There's
the
no question about
ASPCA,
it.
the ASPCA is not loving this.
I actually had a question about the bird we killed earlier. I don't think we actually stabbed a bird out of the air, but I think they took a dead bird and
That looked like a
painted it.
stuffed bird, and they just put red
Oh,
tempera
okay,
paint
okay,
on it.
okay. Well,
But this
either
lizard
way,
is
we definitely watched a lizard getting fucking
it's
crucified.
very brief,
Uh-huh.
but just know animal death in
Yes.
this movie. Those Italians, they're crazy.
And so all right, so she takes Marcus to the house. She warns him to be careful of ghosts. What
Because
do you
it's
know about ghosts?
haunted.
I don't know, I just heard about it.
They just say this house is haunted. Jeffrey, okay, one, the
Okay. Hmm.
soundtrack. The soundtrack here,
Uh-huh.
ballin',
Yes.
but like pure bass. Unfortunately, the soundtrack is what it's soundtracking is just David Hemmings walking around a fucking abandoned house.
Yes.
Just pulling at curtains, opening doors.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you looking for, my dude?
Yeah.
He's just tapping on walls,
This
opening
is
opening windows.
this is the thing about writing a mystery is that like you have to have action, and just like elbow grease is an action.
Uh-huh.
Like just I'm
Like
gonna look
somebody
under
poring over
everything.
books in a library. Yeah, yeah,
In order, you need constant discoveries,
yeah. Hmm.
right? You need an epiphany to be like, I remember there was a mention of this type of room, and I see the chandelier they described in
Yes.
this room. Something about this, like we need to keep deducing down
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
where the next thing is. And this is just a man walking through each room, being like,
That's
it's
the
the
room.
that I don't know what I'm looking for, but I'm just walking through
I'm
rooms.
just looking at a house. I mean, it's a very beautiful house. It needs a lot of work.
Yeah,
Definitely needs a reno.
yeah,
But until he's in a hallway
uh-huh,
and he sees two little weird little dots
mm-hmm,
and he starts scratching at the wall. And we see him in real time scratch at this wall like it's a fucking lotto scratch off ticket
uh-huh,
based on a hunch that there's color or something underneath. This is taking too long. Yes, it is taking too long.
yeah,
But instead, he goes into the waterlogged basement, grabs, I don't know, a piece of plywood or something, comes back up and starts fucking scraping at the wall.
uh-huh,
And I guess his hunch was correct because there's a child's drawing of a child with a bloody knife and a man with a giant knife wound in his chest underneath
uh-huh.
this plaster.
So we have another suspect in Olga, right?
Because
Because
there's a
a
child,
kid
child
who
with a knife. Yeah.
stabs things, and
Yeah.
the kid is the
Very, very
murderer on this
stabby
mural.
kid.
Mm-hmm.
But we literally watch him do this in real time.
Oh
I
my
was
God.
like, this is like watching some this it's like when you go to the convenience store, bodega, grocery store, whatever, and somebody in front of you is buying the lottery,
Uh-huh.
and you're like, oh Jesus Christ, I'm gonna be here forever. They're like, I
Yes.
need 9, 43, 72, five of the big lotto, four of the nine, four of
Uh-huh.
the and like, oh my God, this is why you need your own register.
Yeah.
It's like that. That's the
Yeah.
feeling I got while watching this.
Yeah. So, oh yeah. And also, I would say that this is a 2 hour and 5 minute movie, and this is a
Yes, it
2 hour
is.
and 5 minute movie that while watching these scenes, I'm like, oh, I could get this down to 90 minutes easy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because we spent a good 9 minutes in this house just walking
Yeah.
around. Okay. I mean, to be fair, this is also where we see him looking out those beautiful windows. So there is
Yes.
some gorgeous art direction here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, the camera, it's actually really interesting. The camera's like, this thing about like giallo is that the camera it does this, it doesn't invent this, but it kind of perfects this idea of the floating POV killer cam.
Uh-huh.
And what's kind of cool about this is that it kind of takes a little bit of that. And we know we're not watching killer cam, but it still is kind of following Marcus through the house as if it were. But
Yeah.
it's in impossible shots that a person, so it's like, the foreground is like kind of this beautiful Art Deco, Art Nouveau architecture.
Yeah.
But it's still like we feel like I don't know, the camera work is really cool.
It is very
But
cool.
what we're actually watching is,
What it's filming, the content of it,
yes, that's it. Exactly.
the form and the process are incredible.
Lovely.
The content,
Lovely.
not as much.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Giordani's final two scenes. One, he goes to Amanda's house, meets with Elvira.
Yeah.
Elvira's like, there's so much blood. I'm
I
still
gotta
cleaning this
clean.
shit
Oh
up.
my God. I found her and they had me at the police station for hours, but I guess I better clear up this blood. Oh, the
And
phone's ringing.
oh, the phone's ringing, but she leaves the sink on hot, and he
Hmm.
starts noticing the steam, sees that the body
Was
outline
pointing at the window or at
pointing
the,
at the.
the mirrored tile.
I, a few episodes ago, I talked about chloroform not being a real thing.
Yes.
A thing I want to say that I don't think is a real thing, if I'm remembering correctly, learning this a long time ago. But I want to look this up, but you guys can get ahead of me and look this up. I don't think police outlines of bodies is real. I don't think they
Oh,
do that. If I
I don't
remember
think they do
correctly,
that anymore.
the what I remember about it, and I could be wrong, so sorry to say
Okay.
no to you because I could be very wrong. But my memory of learning about this was there was a moment in like the 1930s where there was a famous murder and or a murder that was covered front page news,
Okay.
and whatever newspaper was covering it, they did not want to put a photo of a dead body on there, and also,
Oh.
but what they had done, they wanted to or they couldn't. put a dead body
Yeah.
because it had
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
been
Yeah. Yeah.
taken
Yeah.
by the police. What they did was oh, no, I know what it was. They had photos of the dead body, but they could
Yeah.
not put them in the paper. So what they did was they restaged the scene with with a tape outline of the body. So this was a
Okay.
newspaper
So the
recreating
newspaper
a
is
shot
a convention. Okay.
to show you this thing. And then it just became such a popular trope in crime fiction or in film crime
Interesting.
fiction. That's how I remember it happening. It might have eventually happened that police started
I was
doing
gonna say,
this
like, maybe the
based
police
off
saw that
of,
and said, "Oh, that's a really fucking good
yeah.
idea."
But anyways, y'all look that up. Let me know if I'm wrong on that.
Sure.
But I think that was, if I'm remembering correctly. Anyways, either way, he sees the tape outline. It's pointing at the wall. He figures it out. If I turn on the bathtub faucet, we can
And the
see what
writing
she
begins
wrote.
to appear.
And what does it say, Cecil? Tell me. I'm so anxious to know who did
It
it.
was ah. Wait, did he spell out ah?
In my memory of the
It's
scene,
literally a Monty Python gag. This moment.
it's so funny.
You
And
know
in
the
my
gag you know the gag I'm talking about, right?
wait, which one? I,
It's
maybe
no, it's literally this. I think it's from the Holy Grail. They're like the murder was
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Oh my God.
ah. And they're like, wait, did they take the time to write out
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
ah? Or do you think the person's name is ah? It's literally a fucking Monty Python gag.
Um,
Because it's just like this woman took the time to write it was
did am I
this person
remembering
I've never met
correctly?
before.
Did she actually put the ellipsis at the end of it
I
of dot dot
know.
dot?
I
I think I'm adding
know.
that. I think my memory's adding that
No,
because
I
it's
don't think
funny.
you are. Oh,
Well, so disappointed
crazy.
Giordani is. It will never.
And also, this Amanda's never, she doesn't know who the killer is. She's never met either of the killers. Spoiler, sorry.
huh.
She's never met these people. She's a fucking folklorist,
Also,
author.
she's a writer. She should
Yeah.
know better than to start writing "It was" when you're on a deadline.
It. Never use three words
Just write
when one will do.
the James
Oh my
Elroy
God.
School of Writing.
Oh, you're killing me. Oh my God.
Okay, so back at his home,
Oh,
his study.
Giordani. Now, okay, here's my thing about this movie. I love this movie's great.
Uh-huh.
I think controversial opinion, pound for pound, I think Tenebrae had more and more spectacular murders,
Agreed.
but but Giordani's murder kind of is like the next level.
This to me is like if you've ever been to a concert where you don't love the band's new stuff,
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but then they hit that song that you love so much
Uh-huh.
2/3 of the way through, and you're like,
Yes.
no, no, this is the best concert I've ever been
Yes. Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah. Like I've sat through all the new shit and then they play a version of that song that you love
Yeah.
but it's like different than the album and they like and yes,
And
absolutely
you're
that.
so moved. This scene makes this movie a classic.
Yeah.
This scene is impeccable in every way. We get him he starts hearing
La,
somebody in the
la,
house. He
la,
hears
la,
a la la
la,
la.
la, 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 la. He's like, "Uh-oh, it's the murder music. Fuck. Uh-oh."
But I also love there's this like interesting nuance that this happened with Marcus earlier where they hear somebody in the house,
Yeah.
but are like, you know what?
Eh.
Better grab a knife, just be on the safe. Better grab a
Wait,
bronze
no, no.
bird.
He hears somebody in the house and he gets a cup of coffee.
Well, yeah, he's like, well, I have a knife. Let me just go get some tea or coffee or whatever. But then that music starts in, and he's like, now his
Oh,
like tea
fuck.
is shaking and
I know.
spilling. And then
And it's
this,
choreography, architecture. It's the choreography, the architecture of the camera and of the space, the architecture of the space. Um, so he's the big, gorgeous study, big old windows with
uh-huh.
curtains. And at the other end, so again, a nice big room. Like you can see there's only one way into this fucking office. And it's this like glass panel door, one door. You're like, Clearly, the murder is going to be coming through that door.
Uh-huh.
But what you don't see is a side door
Uh-huh.
next to that door that looks like wood paneling, and the murderer does not come out of it, but a automaton doll dressed like a ventriloquist dummy comes fucking flying out of the woodwork at
Like,
him slash you slash the camera.
this is one of the scariest things I've ever seen. I jumped. Like
Yeah,
I don't find giallos particularly scary. Like
no.
they're horror movies in the sense that like
And they
the
can be kind of
deaths are
gratuitous and
elaborate,
gross and yeah, yeah,
gross,
yeah,
and they're scary in the sense of like, oh, I can feel how
yeah,
that
yeah,
murder
yeah,
happened. I legit jumped and this image is also like nightmare fuel. The
yeah,
way it's kind of crooked and sideways and kind of jittering as it
yeah.
moves.
Because you
Oh,
know that the killer is coming for him, and what you're expecting is stylish black glove killer.
yeah.
What you're not expecting is a fucking automated moving ventriloquist dummy the size of like a Great Dane
Yeah.
coming straight at you. I Now listen, Jeffrey, I know we got to this movie through toys, dolls,
Uh-huh.
puppets, whatever. And I was a little like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess we had a doll in the beginning. Yeah, it was sort of okay. I full applause,
Yes.
full applause.
We did it, y'all. 10 out of 10,
And
no notes.
10 out of 10. I had no idea.
No.
And
And
he
it's
and he
funny.
takes and he takes his knife and he like smashes this doll clearly
Hmm.
because this shit is fucking terrifying. And he has this look of like, oh my God. And then out of the curtained window next to him, Black Glove Killer.
Yes. He gets stabbed and then he gets his
Curb
face.
stomped.
He gets curb stomped. Like the killer smashes his face and mouth into the corner of this stone
Yeah.
mantelpiece.
My only critique,
Hmm.
if I may. I
One
mean,
note.
this is excellent. This is pure excellence. But just a footnote. Every time he gets curb stomped against the mantelpiece, against the thing, it makes a noise. There's like a little added SFX noise
Uh-huh.
that sounds like an old school pinball machine. Like when you would like when you would hit the bumper on a pinball machine, it goes boing.
Uh-huh.
Kind of took me out a little bit.
Yeah.
I understand why they did it because it's so like impactful each
Yeah.
time. They're like, I don't know, we need to like make a sound that really shows he's getting hit. But I don't know if boing, 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 boing is the noise you wanted to go for. That's
Yeah.
my only critique.
Well, we're in the final act here, and Marcus and Gianna are together, and he's like, "Listen, let's
Let's
just
get the
get
fuck
out
out of
of
here.
town.
Let's go to Lebanon. Let's go to
Yeah,
Spain.
they're gonna go to Spain, and we'll drive." She's like, "Well, we obviously can't take my car." He's like, "Totally, I will call Alamo.
My
We're
car's a
good."
POS. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, "Great, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna pack. Give me an hour."
Okay, great.
Everyone stop splitting up in horror movies. Just be like,
Well,
"Come
this I
with
can
me."
kind of understand, but I'll like just go with her, dude.
Yeah,
Just go together.
what? At this point, I'd be like, "Just come with me to budget. We'll we'll
Yeah.
get a we'll get a Corolla. I'll
Yeah.
drive you to your place.
Also,
Load up."
like, yeah. Also, you're not going on holiday. You're on the run from the law.
Yes,
I think you all are the lightness of this scene. It doesn't like. I don't think you understand the gravity of the situation here.
the rent-a-car is going to be a little tough for
Well, she
evading
just uses her
police.
information.
Yes, true.
I mean, which I think is
Which,
also funny that he's like, "Yeah, you should come with me." Oh my God, I get to go with you. And in my mind, he's like, he's going to make her pay for this whole thing.
yeah, basically, yeah. Well, while she's gone, also I love her like sashay out of his
Oh my
apartment is
God.
so
Yep.
good.
She's amazing.
He tries calling Carlo again.
Yep. Carlo did.
But Carlo not dead because remember we're gonna see
Oh, not Carlo.
Carlo.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry, sorry. I thought he tried to
no,
call him
not
Giordani. Yeah, yeah.
Giordani, but he's
Yes,
gonna
he
call
tries
his
calling
drunk
Carlo.
friend
Calls Carlo's house.
Carlo,
Yes, yes,
but
yes.
he gets Carlo's mom being like
She's all
full
kooky and weird.
Martha,
Yeah.
and then he has an. I didn't write it down, and I don't remember their conversation, but something in it is like, I got to go back to that haunted house place.
Yes, he has that epiphany moment where he's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe." And he looks at the picture and he realizes that he's looking at a window.
Yeah.
And he realizes there's not a window. So he
Yep.
leaves a little note for
That's it.
Gianna, which I'm like, girl, just you're writing a note on your front door for any old person to read.
Oh my God.
I went to Via Vespucci 28. Come find me, XOXO. But he goes back to that fucking house and he
Uh-huh.
notices there's not a window there. Now, what he does next is a choice.
It is literally a choice that he makes.
I mean, you can kind of use spatial reasoning to be like, okay, if I go up to the second floor, and if, okay, so this is sort of the north end of the house, so if this is where the door faces, and and then I go around here, and oh, look, there's a place where I can get in, that there's a window where there's not a window. But what he decides to do is crawl up the exterior of the house. He takes a pickaxe and begins at 11 o'clock at night just banging on the outside of this fucking house. That's
To
not suspicious.
No, not at
Good thing they
all.
don't have any neighbors that are like, there's a man just blasting on this fucking house over here.
And the other thing, but then he almost falls off the
Oh
house,
yeah.
manages to climb the vine down, and then he does what he should have done to begin with, which is
Which
just
is go inside.
go inside, find that room
Yeah.
spatially, and then hammer it open, which he
Yep.
does.
I I was like, what are you doing, sir?
It's so silly.
You're just like hanging on to dear life. And you can tell, and it's one of those things where like you can also see the uncomfortableness of the actor in the character because David Hemmings is having a hard time with his pickaxe,
Yeah.
with his footing. Like he can't put the pickaxe in his pocket, in his belt. Like he's just like it all just doesn't really make sense, this
No.
little moment here. But he finally gets inside. He busts through the door, or he busts through the plywood and the plaster, and he finds the room.
And inside that room is the most dilapidated old corpse, gaping maw,
Yeah.
just like
I
dead
mean,
body
it's
from
yeah,
20
like Dead Body
years.
from Psycho.
Yeah.
Um, but with like the Christmas tree covered with cobwebs. I mean, I love this image, this idea. Sort of, we're talking about Dario Argento, not concerned with facts and figures,
No.
but he is concerned with like the psychological impact of imagery and
Uh-huh.
of ideas. And this idea of like this room where a murder took place, where a body is left murdered, and someone just walled it up.
Yeah.
And on the outside of that wall, I think no, it's a different wall, but like a child, in my mind, the child has drawn a picture of the murder.
Mm-hmm.
But this idea of like just walling something up inside your psychological house,
Yeah. I mean, that's what we
untouched.
do with trauma, is it just gets
Exactly.
hidden away. You
Gets
don't
all
face
dusty and
the thing.
cobwebby.
Yeah. Yeah. And probably stings to high holy for a long time.
Yeah. Although, honestly, it's been so long,
At this point, it can't
that body is
smell.
dust.
Yeah.
That body is anything fleshy about that body is just it's gone.
Yeah. But he gets knocked out.
Knocked
Not
on
killed.
conked
I'm like
conked on the back of a head.
not killed, knocked out, and he wakes up outside on the ground with Gianna over him.
Gianna, uh-oh. And Gianna's got some eyeliner on in this scene for
Uh-huh.
sure. And she's like, it's so good I found you.
I
Man, the
just
house was
saw
on
your note.
fire. I
One more
pulled you out
second,
just in
and you would have
time.
been dead. I was here just in time to save
That's
you.
amazing. Gianna?
Well, they go back to the groundskeeper's place to call the fire department, and in Olga's room, Marcus sees a drawing exactly like the mural on the wall.
What?
He's like, "What the fuck? What the fuck drawing this?" And I love that her dad comes in. He's like, "Man, she's just weird. I don't know."
I know,
Like,
right? My daughter's fucked up. Which is kind of a funny response. Be like, oh yeah,
uh-huh.
my daughter's a witch. She's messed up.
Yeah.
She kills shit.
But Olga says, no, they just have a bunch of old kids' drawings in the archive at our school at Leonardo da Vinci
Mm-hmm.
Elementary.
I had to clear out the archives. It was somewhere in the 1950s section. I was like, wow, this is a lot of information we're getting from an
Yeah.
8-year-old.
And she saw this cool drawing and just copied it.
Yikes.
So,
Off to the school we go.
1 a.m., fuck that Spain trip, baby. We're
Perfect.
going to Da Vinci, Leonardo DiCaprio,
Yep.
K through
We gotta
six.
we gotta wander through another dusty old, musty old building in Italy at the middle of the night.
We're also gonna like break a window to break in. So like
Of
let's just
course we
add to
are.
our rap sheet.
I was getting very like this is the Resident Evil section of this movie.
Yes,
They're
yes,
like, oh look, here's a building. Let's break into it and wander around aimlessly inside a building.
yes. I was having Silent Hill vibes of like, just don't. What are we doing?
Yeah.
They so they start going through the archives to find that drawing, and
Yep.
Gianna's like, I'm gonna go call the police. Let's split up.
Girl, no. She hears something. She's like, I heard, did you hear that? What did it sound like? I don't know. I can't describe it. What?
Try?
Use your words.
Uh-huh.
I think I'm going to go over here and call the police and let them know we've broken into this school. Are you?
It's just
Is
so
that what you're going to do, Gianna? I can maybe you should help me find the clue and then we can leave and no one will be any the wiser.
yeah.
You fucking
Well,
psycho. You sound like a killer right now. Because that's what a killer would say.
yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, and I that's the idea is that we're trying to keep up with setting each scene is just
Yes.
setting the stage for
It might be this person.
the question. And
Yeah.
the leitmotif of logic is not
Uh-huh.
present,
No.
but there is an artistic leitmotif through Argento's
Absolutely.
films. And I love the feeling I get. It is like a roller coaster in that no machine should move like this, but the reason we design a roller coaster to move like it does is to keep us thrilled. It's
Yes.
all
It doesn't
about
have a purpose. It doesn't have a lot like there's no logical reason to get on a roller coaster
no.
other than to feel the thrill of getting on a roller coaster.
And this movie is that in that like there's so many moments where the characters' decisions make no logical sense. Sometimes the plot makes no logical sense,
Yeah.
but every scene is like, I gotta know. I gotta know what's gonna happen
There's
now.
another turn right around the corner. We gotta we.
Well, he finds the drawing in the
Yep.
archives, sees who drew it, and is gonna
It
withhold that
was
info.
uh,
And then
surname.
but then he can't find Gianna and he goes walking
Oh my
through
God.
and there's like he finds a classroom where the killer has drawn a hanged man.
Yes. Yes.
And then he
To
finds
all to a
Gianna.
funky all to a funky disco beat, I might add.
Yes. Then he finds Gianna, who's not yelling. I'm
No.
like, if you hear, I don't know. She
If you see
has,
something, say something.
well, the killer has stabbed her through the gut and impaled her on the
Oh.
wall.
And I was like, okay, that doesn't mean that she can't be the killer because people can stab themselves
Yeah.
to divert. And we all know how this goes.
That one went through the kidneys though. Like that's a
Yeah,
tough
that's
stabbing.
yeah. But she's like, they're over there.
Yeah. So police arrive. They're some reason letting Marcus.
Well, no, it's like so like he chases the black
Oh, that's
glove
right. He
killer,
chases. Yes, right.
and then finally he's like, I know who you are. You are Carlo.
Yeah.
Ah,
But
hands over to Carlo.
and we do have established that the police have it because he has called the police while he's gone looking for this
Yes.
killer. So the police
Oh,
are
yes.
outside. Sandwich cop is outside along
Sandwich
with
cop.
his
Yep.
yes.
Lieutenant Sandwich.
And Lieutenant Sandwich is outside, but not seeing this scene. And so Carlo has a gun drawn on Marcus, and he's like, "Why did you have to stay involved?" I love you,
Oh,
bro, but I gotta fucking kill you because
because you're fucking
I'm
up my
trying to
shit.
save a lot of things here,
Yeah.
man. Um, and then he starts to he fires the gun, but he's one so drunk and two so distracted by the fact that Sandwich
The
Cop is like
cops are coming in the
are
door, or
coming in the
coming in through the
window,
window. Yeah.
and he manages to like shoot Sandwich Cop, but it just tears his leather jacket. That's all.
Yeah.
And then they fire at him.
He
Stormtrooper
runs.
shots all over
Oh
the
my God.
place.
Oh, absolutely. Like it's like right next to him, anything else. And Carlo's like, you'll never get me. And he climbs over the wall. and
This
he's
is the most
running.
Looney Tune shit I have ever seen,
This is
Cecil,
well,
in a
I
horror movie.
I mean, as a gay man, my whole thing is like, well, we can't make a character gay and not give him the masochistic,
Right. Oh, yes, yes, yes.
misogynistic death that he deserves for being a homosexual.
Right.
So clearly, this is going to be a set piece. I know it's coming.
Yes.
When you're queer, you just kind of anticipate these things. It does not diminish my enjoyment of this film. It just makes me go, it was Italy in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
But
Um, yes,
it's
he gets
bananas.
it
This
bad
is he gets it bad, but this is fucking ridiculous.
because they can't just shoot him.
No.
He's got to go on the run.
Yeah.
He's got to be kind of jogging backwards out into the street because he's
Uh-huh.
kind of double birding the cops, like, you'll
Yeah.
never get
It's like,
me.
fuck you, you'll never catch me alive.
And the sanitation truck sideswipes him.
Uh-huh. Kind
A
of
rope dragging off the back of it manages to wrap around his leg and drag him through the streets.
Now he's being dragged through the streets by this like garbage truck, refuse truck. But what makes it so like kind of misogynistic and but funny in its unawareness and kind of campy is the fact that these two truck drivers are just having a laugh. They are like there's multiple scenes of like Carlo being dragged through the streets of Rome,
Uh-huh.
bloodied, head bouncing off the curbs. And the truckers are like, hey, man, did you catch the game last night? Yeah, it was a good one. Yay,
Yeah.
Italia forever. Like, you don't hear what they're saying, but they're just like gabbing away.
Because,
It
like,
adds that,
yeah.
that is camp. That to me is campy, is that like it's funny, but I don't think it's supposed to be funny. But maybe it is supposed to be
I mean, I
funny,
think
but
it's
not for
supposed to
the
be,
reason they think it's funny, but it's funny because
I think
it's
it's supposed to be funny in
unintentionally
a masculine,
right. Like, oh, look,
patriarchal sense of like
this
just
guy's
the
being dragged to his death and they don't even notice.
society is men and men just kind of do their things and society cleans itself, right? It
They're
is,
talking about the fucking football game.
yeah, it is like just society has its own hygiene and this is part of
Yeah.
it, right? It's no mistake that it's the sanitation taking out the trash,
Oh,
right?
sure. Absolutely.
And
Well, finally they notice or something.
well, they notice when they go around a corner, he
I think, yeah.
they go
Like
around a corner, his head slams into the side of a pole, which basically kills him. But then another car comes over the hill and like screeches to a halt and like crushes his head
flattens his
with a tire.
brain pan.
And that's when the guys are like, "What?"
Uh, dead.
Mystery solved. And at the
Right?
hospital the next day,
Oh,
Marcus learns from the doctors she's still alive.
Gianna's going to be okay.
She's
Thank
gonna
God.
make it.
She's a tough girl. She'll make it through. Amazing.
Not the end though, because Marcus
I
is like,
know.
"Wait a minute."
Wait, he's back. He's back at the amazing statue of Poe in
Yeah.
Turin, not Italy, or Turin, not Rome.
And he's like, wait a minute, because this is where Carlo was standing right here when we
Yeah.
saw Helga get murdered. So he couldn't have murdered Helga. Something
And
else
I
is at
saw him
stake.
see the
So he
person that
cuts
raided him.
down the I just thought of the movie Pulse with all the doors taped shut from the
Oh yeah,
outside,
yeah,
but it's
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
taped shut from the outside. He cuts it open, goes inside Helga's apartment,
You should have been
and
doing this from moment one. He's like, there's something about these god awful paintings.
he realizes it wasn't that a painting had gone missing. It's that there's a mirror on the wall that when he walks past, he's like, it looks like something's missing. But in a second shot of him walking past that mirror, the painting that we see in the mirror, there's another human figure in.
That's like, it's like whited out. So it
Uh-huh.
looks like this ghastly face.
But it's
This is actually,
Martha.
this is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
The camera work is amazing here. I mean, it's great because it's like, it's putting Marcus, like we're seeing Marcus put his face into a mirror and what's reflected behind him are these ghastly faces. And it's just really cool the way he's like being put into the art and
Yes.
then it reveals Martha's face in the art through a mirror from like it's some cool camera work.
So what he had seen was Martha's originally when he was first there, he had seen Martha's face hiding in the painting.
Yeah.
In the mirror, but when he came back out, that face wasn't there, so he felt
So
like
he
a
feels like
painting
something
was
was
gone.
missing.
Yeah. So
Oh,
clever. Well, that's Martha, and then
oh, girl. She is mad.
she is mad, and she's like, "You caused my son's death. He never hurt anyone," which sort of implies actually that she has done all of these
I
killings.
don't know. She's absolutely done all
Yeah.
this.
And Carlo was just trying to protect me. And so we get this flashback living in that house, Christmas
La
Day.
la 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 la.
And here's little what's
Little
the
little
like
Car little Carlo.
what's Jack Ferver's character from the Starburst commercial? Oh, I'm a little lad who loves strawberries and cream. Do you remember
Yeah.
this?
Oh my
Yes.
God. No, but I think
That's
I know what
what
you're getting at.
Carlo is dressed as. I'm a little lad
Like,
who loves
oh
strawberries and cream or
yes,
berries and cream. Berries and cream. Berries and cream. That's how
absolutely.
Carlo is dressed.
He's a little fancy boy.
He is a fancy little boy.
He's a little fancy mama's boy.
Uh-huh.
Putting
And
on his creepy ass children's record.
yep. And the whole thing is dad, husband, is like, girl, you are crazy and
You
you need
gotta
to
go
go to
back
an
to the scene.
asylum.
You gotta go back to the asylum. Let the doctors
And
take care of you.
she's like, no, not going to. And as he's walking off, she takes the
Very Joan
knife.
Crawford. It's very like
Yes.
she is full Joan Crawford in this moment. Like red velvet dress.
Uh-huh.
It's absolute like it's very straitjacket
Yes.
film noir.
Yeah. And she stabs dad who dies on the floor, and his last gesture is to pull the knife out of his own back and drop it right at the feet of
Ugh.
his his
His
black
his
strap shoes
his
and knee-high socks. And she says that her son was basically it's just Carlo was scarred from this
yeah.
moment. He would draw this scene when he was a child. He obviously, this repressed memory made him become an alcoholic and a gay.
Hmm.
And he,
And
yeah,
that's why he can't hold down a job.
yeah. So the reason why why he attacked Gianna and Marcus at the school was he was trying to protect the mother, his
Yeah.
Martha. Well, Martha is like, now you can't live. Here's a meat cleaver to your arm.
Yes.
Full
You gotta
chase.
die.
You're gonna die. Chase through the
They're like out
apartment
into the
building
hall. Yeah,
lobby,
they're out into the hallway where there's an elevator,
like
and
the
she has
classic
this.
wrought iron
Yeah, yeah,
cage
yeah.
elevator.
And she has this like silver pendant on
Uh-huh.
her like necklace that gets caught in the wrought iron.
Uh-huh.
She can't quite pull it loose. And Marcus is like just chilling. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's been hitting the arm. He's like, I don't, but she can't get out. But he does press the call button for that elevator.
And that elevator grabs hold of that pendant and just
Oh
keeps
my God.
going. And
And
it
you see it cut into like it's not her face, it's clearly like a body double
yeah,
mannequin, but it goes through her
through the
neck.
throat and just head gone,
And what you
blood
but and it's
pool.
like you just see the like red stained necklace go all the way to the bottom.
Yeah,
Gagged.
so good.
Absolutely gagged.
What a great death. And then the final shot is just a shot into the pool of blood, and you can
Yes.
see Marcus's reflection in it.
Just kind
Credits.
of being like, what the fuck? Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Son, you
I'm never
definitely
going
are
to
not getting
Rome.
out of Italy now.
I'm not, I'm never leaving this place.
The end.
The end.
Shall we rate this film?
Yes, let's.
All right, if you're horror film averse, how approachable is this? I'll rate this on a scale of 1 to 10 of approachability, with 1 being the least approachable, 10 being the most approachable. Let's give Deep Red like 3, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, 3.
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it's
uh,
bloody, but it's also like tempera, like it's giallo bloody, which means it's like it's like some tension, like it's pretty like exploitative. Like we're gonna watch some people get curb stomped and
yeah.
bludgeoned with a like the murders take their time with it, but they're not terribly realistic.
No, it's if
You
you've
know?
watched giallo before,
Yeah.
this one
It's
is
not Terrifier. It's
no.
not gory, but it is lurid.
Yes, in its style, everything is stylized, right?
Yeah.
Terrifier is stylized too, but in a really graphic,
Yeah.
like
More is
really
more.
graphic way. This
And
one
this is like
is
less is more.
this is theater in its, in its gore, right? Like the blood is orange paint. It is a
Yeah.
glossy orange paint. Anyways, let's say four, but I'll give it a 4 out of 10 approachability,
Sure.
but like four pinned lizards out of 10.
Oh my God.
Um,
And that jump scare with that mannequin,
and th
I
it
have
legit is one
never,
of the scariest moments.
I have never. And that is like, yeah, I think we can add that to like top five scares of all
It's a
time
great
on celluloid.
content warnings. We already mentioned the blood and the gore there and the graphic animal harm. That lizard,
Yep.
you were like, that lizard got fucked.
Pinned.
The
Yeah.
scary doll, and obviously the homophobic tropes
Yep.
that exist here. So
Gotta
no,
kill your
those,
gaze.
yep, kill your gaze, definitely. So that's what's up for this movie about approachability. What about just as a horror film, to speak nothing of approachability, Cecil, how do you rate this movie?
As a horror film, this one's pretty dope.
Uh-huh.
Like I said before, I think pound for pound, murder for murder. I think the murders get more creative the further into the Argento canon you get, and a little bit more like if crazy Rube Goldberg kind of esque of the murders. But this is like pretty fucking pure.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good one. It's a really good one. So for that, I'm gonna say 8 out of 10. Um, 8 out of 10 bottles of Sambuca,
Okay, perfect.
mini bottles of Sambuca.
All right, well, let's figure out what we will watch next. You've got a scare die, I've got a style die. We'll roll those up and see what movie matches those two things. Cecil, on your scare die, if you roll a 1, we're going to get Altered States. 2, Vampire. 3, Wild Card. 4, Mother Nature. 5, Zombie. 6, Psycho Killer. What's our scare?
That's a 4.
Mother Nature. Okay,
Uh-oh. Eco horror. Here we
eco
go.
horror. So we're going to mix up your Mother Nature with the style that I roll. So if I roll a 1, the style of our next film has to be something in and around a college or university. 2, a one-word title. 3, it has to be a sequel, prequel, or remake. 4, rural horror. 5, something from the 2000s, 2000 to 2009. 6, a splatter film. All right, what do we got here? I have got a 3, a sequel, a prequel, a remake from Mother Earth,
Ooh, fun.
Mother
Okay,
Nature.
okay.
We wrote down a few, but we also have a Letterboxd account. We're at Random Horror 9 on Letterboxd, and we keep lists. If you check our lists on Letterboxd, you will see that we put up all of the possible die roll combinations, and people come and comment with movies they think would fit these two things, which is really helpful and hopefully fun for y'all too. So let's read the ones we put on here, which I think I may have done these on our list.
I think you did most of the heavy lifting here. Yeah.
So I'll read these and tell you about these films, and you can tell us what Letterboxd has to say. I mean, these are all pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jaws 2.
Sure. I've never seen it.
I haven't either. I think I've seen Jaws 3. I remember seeing that in
Oh,
3D.
okay, sure.
Um, Gremlins 2?
Fuck yes. I've seen Gremlins 2 more than I've seen Gremlins 1, to be
Uh-huh,
honest.
uh-huh.
But I would love to revisit this lighthearted romp of a comedy.
Yes. Okay, so there's two here in almost the exact same title. We have Piranha 3D
Yes.
or Piranha 3 Double D.
Yeah. Wait, those are two different
I
movies?
think they're two different movies.
Shut the front door. I always thought they were the same movie.
Yep, they're two different movies. They came out 2 years apart.
Okay.
Piranha 3D is Alexander Aja. Uh, and then that's in 2010, and then in 2012, John Gulager
Okay.
directed. And you can see the difference in, like, I think Piranha 3D is probably got a little bit of the sexy
Yes.
sexploitation-y thing.
Yeah.
But Piranha 3 Double D is definitely just saying, what about titties?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. No, I think the one that I actually saw Piranha 3D in the theater, and I remember it's like, you know what? For what this is, It's not bad. Also, it has Elizabeth Shue and Christopher Lloyd in it. So, and Jerry O'Connell.
Yeah, I
Like, I
think it's
remember
like a
being like,
legit schlocky
yeah,
horror movie, whereas Three
absolutely.
Double D is not
It's like a
stupid.
Cinemax.
It's
Yeah,
stupid. Yeah. And I think it's going more comedy than like Skinamax, but I think it is definitely
yeah.
playing at that. And then finally we have Final Destination 2.
I think I put this one on here because I was like, what's more natural than death?
Oh, sure. There
Maybe not the eco horror that you were anticipating, but I put it on there just as a lark because I was like, yeah, death is a part of life, Mother
uh-huh.
Nature. I don't know. I put that on there.
There was some for some reason
Just
I thought
joking.
this one also had something that was particularly like eco, but you're probably right. It's just death is death. Fate is
Yeah,
nature.
yeah.
Okay, so well, there's the movies we wrote. What did people put on our letterbox, Cecil?
Horror Man Mike recommends Jane Cameron's very first movie, Piranha 2, The Spawning, 1982. Haven't seen
Oh,
this one. Didn't know this was out there. And I kind of love that it's James Cameron's first movie. Might be kind of fun.
uh-huh.
Arms Bend Back, love the Twin Peaks reference. Recommends, oh, if this is horror, but Twister 2. We could also say the Twisters,
Yeah,
the reboot would
yeah.
fit under that. Absolutely. They also say, depending on what this is drawn, Cujo. The Cujo remake might. Oh, this is interesting. They're doing a Cujo remake that's being released September 18th,
Which
2024.
which
Did it come
which
out?
was a month ago,
Okay, I haven't heard anything about it.
and I have not heard anything about it, which is a little
It's
alarming.
probably not a great idea. But okay,
I'm
but
not
there's a
seeing anything on Just Watch about this
it
movie,
might have been
so
pushed back.
yeah.
There's several Kong slash Godzilla horror films.
Yeah.
Godzilla X Kong being the newest one, Godzilla minus one. Um, there's a Lake Placid series, a Meg series, and Sharknadoes.
Okay.
D Coyote recommends Piranha 3 Double D, sequel to remake of 3D. This time the killer fish invade a water park. Pure ridiculous. And all about the male gaze. King and Commoner recommends 47 meters down, uncaged.
Oh, okay. Like it.
Two sisters diving in a ruined underwater city quickly learn that they've entered the territory of the deadliest shark species in the claustrophobic labyrinth of submerged caves.
Oh, love that.
I hate it when that happens.
Uh-huh.
Cronenberg TA recommends the return of Godzilla. The Japanese government suppresses news of Godzilla's return as political tensions increase between the US and USSR, both of whom are willing to bomb Japan to stop the monster. Weaponized Toaster seconds Piranha 3D. And they acknowledge that these are maybe not good, but Toxic Avenger 2 might be kind of fun.
Uh-huh.
Alligator 2, The Mutation,
Uh-huh.
and Troll 2. I've still not seen this
No.
campy delight of a movie. I don't know if I'd put this under Mother Nature, though.
No.
This sounds a little more magic
I
to
think
me.
we have so many movies here that I
Yeah.
think we're gonna find ourselves like weeding out the supernatural or
Yeah.
the crypt.
I mean, but listen, hey,
Yeah.
sometimes you take a swing. I
Yeah, yeah,
put
sure.
Final
Yeah, yeah, no,
Destination
no,
2 under.
totally get it. Yeah.
Real Astronaut recommends Shark Attack 3 Megalodon,
Right?
a
Okay.
classic so bad it's good shark movie involving very funny effects and John Barrowman playing a raging heterosexual. Oh, John
Oh.
Barrowman, I love him. Ganymede's Cup recommends Open Water 3 Cage Dive. Oh my God, the sequel prequel remake is killing me right now.
Uh,
An Australian found footage survival horror flick, a standalone sequel in the open water film series.
I mean it
Three
the whole
three
time.
friends filming
Hmm.
an audition tape for an extreme reality TV show find themselves stranded in shark-infested waters, turning their recording into a bloody diary of death.
Great.
Squin recommends Cruel Jaws,
Oh.
unsanctioned Jaws
Oh,
sequel.
yes.
Now you're speaking my language, Squin.
Yes. This is like Zombie
Italian
2.
production, filmed in Florida, shark footage stolen from various other shark movies. Some of the most fun. Oh my God, you got to look this up, Jeffrey. What does this look
Bruno
like?
Mattel. Oh, goodness. A tiger shark
Cruel
bred by the
Jaws.
Navy as a killing machine is wreaking havoc in the sleepy tourist town of Hampton Bay. So
Oh,
this is okay, Cruel Jaws, which is
it,
also sold as Jaws 5.
Shut the front door.
It's so interesting. Bruno Mattei. Okay, well, yes, this feels very mockbuster-ish.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Fifth Hammer recommends Grizzly 2 Revenge. A
Okay.
giant grizzly reacting to the slaughter of her cubs attacks a huge rock concert in a national park. Uh-oh, don't go to Red Rocks.
Hmm.
The sequel to Grizzly 1976 had been left unfinished in 1983 and was only completed and released in 2020. Oh, that's kind of
Interesting.
interesting. Atomic Baz says any of the Sharknado sequels,
Sure.
Sharknado 2, Sharknado 3, both have the IMDb rating at 4 stars. Wow, that's pretty good. Booga
Uh-huh.
Gremlins 2, absolutely. And The Birds 2 would be kind of funny to do
Oh
before you
yeah.
actually, because we've never actually gotten to the original bird.
Uh-huh.
There's a couple we've gotten to the sequels before we've gotten to the originals. But yeah,
Yes.
The Birds 2. Obliterated Ellipsoid, Jaws the Revenge, 1987, calls it a masterpiece. Eric Riley recommends Willard from 2003, the remake of the 1971 film of the same name about a man who befriends rats and kills folks with them, starring Kristen Glover. That's a good recommendation.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it and being like, this movie is weird,
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I think I didn't even think about Willard
weird.
because I forgot about the remake nature of
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. Silver Dragon recommends Birdemic. Oh my God, Birdemic 3.
Oh God.
A displaced sea eagles go on a rampage and a lot of discussion about climate change. Oh, that's good.
Great, great,
It
great.
has a point of view. Volatile Spider, Seconds Piranha 2, Birdemic 3. Sid recommends Mimic 2. Um, Jeffrey Cecil, listen. He's not like those NYC douchebags you've dated in the past. He's different, thoughtful, a giant genetically engineered cockroach monster living underground. Give him a chance.
Oh, okay.
Mimic 2.
Swipe right. Swipe right, Sid.
Absolutely. Wait, Mimic 2. Because I think the first Mimic was,
That's
like a
also like bug
beautiful, sexy
attack.
lady. I guess in this one, it's a dude.
Was Mimic sexy lady or is that species? Mimic is like
Oh,
the
shit.
Mimic's the like cockroaches in the sewer
Oh,
thing.
that's right. Oh, we watched Species, not Mimic.
Yes, yes.
Sorry.
But they're kind of the
Those one
same
word
bit.
title. It was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Required Field. Oh, this is a good one. The Thing, 1982. Now, we've watched The Thing for our Patreon. Please sign up for our Patreon, only $5 a month.
Uh-huh.
But absolutely, that's a remake. That's good call. It's kind
Oh
of more
yeah.
alien than,
Uh-huh.
I would say alien than Mother Nature, but absolutely. Ace Diamond recommends Little Shop of Horrors, 1986, count as a remake. Again, but it's a plant for
It
sure.
is, and it is a
It,
remake, or
it is a remake.
it's a reimagination, I guess.
It's kind of an alien plant, though,
Yeah.
in a total eclipse of the sun. They also, Ace Diamond also recommends Anacondas, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid. Oh, Jesus Christ. From 2004, a team of investigators travel to a tropical island to find a flower that grants immortality, only to find anacondas instead.
Awesome.
Sure, why not? AM Christians recommends Piranha 2. Moth Gender, not Mother Gender, Moth Gender, says, first off, I cannot believe that they made 6 Birdemic movies.
Incredible.
Amazing. Piranha 3D, for the sole reason of Christopher Lloyd is a crazy piranha expert.
Born to play it.
Lucky recommends Mimic 2, Sharknado 2, and Mr. Body says, can we please hear Jeffrey and Cecil talk about Gremlins 2
Yeah.
and B. Helgoth, Piranha 3D.
It is ridiculous and amazing.
Yes.
So I have some bad news and some good news about The Birds 2 Land In.
Oh,
First,
no dice.
first the good news, which is the director is credited as Alan Smithy. So you
Oh,
know well, Alan Smithy is the name
it's the
with the
name that you
director
use when
wants
you
to when you don't want your
don't
name attached.
withhold. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So the director is Alan Smithy, so you know it's horrible.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but the bad news, of course, is that it is unavailable for streaming,
Oh.
probably because of the whole Alan Smithy bit. But the poster for it, the cover art is so 1994 Photoshop looking. It's horrible. I'm sad we'll miss that.
Sure.
Okay. What are you feeling, Cecil, out of all of these movies?
Okay. I feel like Piranha 3D, because
Seems the
here's the
big
thing.
push for
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Like there's a big push for that. It's like it's a Hollywood, it's pretty glossy. Piranha 3 Double D, I'm gonna put my foot down and say no thank you. Like I get it. I'd rather watch Piranha 3D because I think it's more of a movie rather than a
Yes.
sort of Skinamax kind of deal.
Um, yes. Although,
However,
yeah,
let's
go
see
ahead.
what else. So some wild cards in there. I mean, where to go? I mean, the Cruel Jaws sounds unbelievable. I don't think I can say like or slash Jaws 5. I don't
Yes.
know. I don't know. But I think Gremlins 2 is another one that's like a fun, again, we're going to get a lot of like fun, silly ones in here. So I think that's kind of the thing. But if we want to go something maybe less fun and silly, I think Willard is kind of a good choice.
Yeah, Willard's really interesting. What a
Killer
curveball. Because
Rats.
yeah, Killer Rats, and it's also Crispin Glover, who we've seen in one of the Friday the 13ths.
Is he in
Being
one of the Friday the 13th?
he's in one of the Friday the 13th,
Oh shit.
one of those kind of like Kids in the Wood slashery movies. I
Okay.
think it's Friday the 13th. Anyways, but yeah, he is yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I
I mean,
think I'd be
Mimic
really into.
2 might also be kind of
Yeah,
campy and
it's
fun, you know.
very 90s as well.
But here's the thing. Like really, I think my heart is telling me Piranha 3D.
I think so too, because that is
It's the most biological, like Mother Nature, biohorror. It's killer fish.
and it's also unlike, well, I guess Willard, like, but like the master, like Willard is he's the
Yes.
bad guy, like the
He's
guy
yeah, yeah,
is the
yeah.
bad guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not that the rats aren't doing shit, um but like Piranha
They're
3D
his
is
friends.
fucking piranhas.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also like,
It's a spring break kind of movie,
and
which I think is a lot of fun.
it's just fun, and I think it is sort of horror comedy as
Yeah.
well. It looks like really competently made for what it is.
Yes,
Elizabeth Shue, Jerry
exactly.
O'Connell,
Exactly.
Ving
And
Rhames, Christopher Lloyd, you
yeah.
know.
No, my heart's telling me Piranha 3D.
I'm down for that. I think that fits the brief the best. So let's do Piranha 3D. Easy. Thank you all for listening. Thanks, Cecil, for talking with me. If you have thoughts on Deep Red or ideas for other movies that would have been good, a Mother Earth scare meets sequel, prequel, remake, let us know on Instagram at Random Horror 9 or Random Horror 9 at Patreon, where we have public discussion threads of each episode, and you don't have to be a paying member to participate in those discussion threads. So watch Piranha 3D, just the 1D from 2010.
Just 1D.
Just 1D. Watch that with this weekend. Come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no baby dolls hanging from your ceiling fan or nothing. Boo.
Boo.